Over 5 decades, Steven Spielberg has worked with nearly every major star in Hollywood. He has directed war heroes and con artists, presidents and sharks, aliens and archaeologists, and along the way he's built a body of work that spans almost every genre imaginable. But only a handful of performers have earned a permanent place in his creative inner circle. Actors he returns to again and again, not because they're famous, but because they understand exactly what he needs before he even asks for it. These are collaborators, not just cast members. They're the people Spielberg trusts to carry the emotional weight of a film on their shoulders, to find truth in a scene without being told exactly how to find it, and to bring something to a role that no amount of direction could manufacture on its own. Today we're counting down 6 actors who have shaped Spielberg's career in ways that go far beyond a single film, and the stories behind why each one still matters so much to him. Long before he became a household name, Harrison Ford was a working carpenter in Los Angeles, building cabinets and installing doors for other people's houses while waiting for his acting career to take off. It's the kind of origin story that seems almost too fitting in hindsight. A man who built things with his hands before he built one of the most enduring characters in film history. When Spielberg cast him as Indiana Jones in 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark, nobody could have predicted the character would become one of the most beloved heroes in cinema. Ford had already found fame as Han Solo in Star Wars, but Indiana Jones asked for something different. Not just charisma, but grit. A hero who could bleed, stumble, and get back up without ever losing his wit. What made the partnership work wasn't just chemistry, it was trust. Spielberg has spoken openly over the years about how Ford approached every stunt, every physically demanding scene, with total commitment. He wasn't an actor who phoned it in from a trailer. He got dirty, he got bruised, and by most accounts he insisted on doing as much of the physical work himself as safety allowed. That commitment gave Indiana Jones a believability that a more cautious performer couldn't have delivered. Audiences could sense that the exhaustion on screen was real, and that authenticity became part of the character's DNA. Their collaboration extended well beyond the original Indiana Jones trilogy, continuing decades later with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny. Ford's understated intensity, his ability to communicate volumes with a raised eyebrow or a clenched jaw, became a tool Spielberg relied on across 4 different decades of filmmaking. Few actor-director pairings have spanned that much time while still feeling fresh with each new installment. Unlike many stars who chase headlines and awards campaigns, Ford has always kept a notably low profile, letting his performances do the talking rather than the press tour. He's rarely seen chasing prestige roles or courting controversy. He simply shows up, does the work, and moves on. For a director who values discipline and preparation above ego, that quality made Ford one of the most dependable collaborators of his career, someone Spielberg could count on to deliver, film after film, without drama on or off the set. Casting Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln in 2012's Lincoln wasn't a decision Spielberg made lightly. The role had been in development for years, passing through different scripts, different screenwriters, and different eras of the director's thinking, before finally landing in the form audiences eventually saw. Day-Lewis himself reportedly turned down the part more than once before finally agreeing to take it on, a hesitation that speaks to just how seriously he treated the responsibility of portraying one of the most mythologized figures in American history. What set this collaboration apart was Day-Lewis's famously immersive process, one that has become the stuff of Hollywood legend in its own right. He didn't simply study Lincoln from history books, by most accounts. He stayed in character for the majority of the production, speaking in Lincoln's cadence even when the cameras weren't rolling, carrying himself with the president's particular stillness between takes. Crew members reportedly addressed him formally throughout filming, treating the boundary between actor and character as something worth protecting rather than something to be broken for the sake of convenience. For Spielberg, a director known for shaping performances scene by scene, working with Day-Lewis required a different kind of direction, one built on space rather than instruction. Reports from the set described Spielberg stepping back more than usual, trusting that Day-Lewis had already done the internal work necessary to inhabit the role completely before he ever stepped in front of a camera. Rather than guiding line readings or blocking every gesture, Spielberg's job became more about creating the conditions for Day-Lewis's performance to unfold naturally. The result was a performance so precise and controlled that it earned Day-Lewis his third Academy Award for Best Actor, a feat no other performer has matched. It remains one of the most acclaimed portrayals of a historical figure ever put on film, and it stands as a testament to what can happen when a director is willing to relinquish a measure of control in favor of an actor's process. Spielberg has since described the experience as one of the most humbling of his career, a reminder that sometimes the best direction is knowing when to step back. Few actor-director relationships in modern Hollywood have lasted as long or produced as much acclaimed work as the one between Spielberg and Tom Hanks. Since Saving Private Ryan in 1998, the two have returned to each other again and again, through Catch Me If You Can, The Terminal, Bridge of Spies, The Post, and beyond, spanning more than 2 decades of consistent collaboration. Their partnership works because of a shared instinct for restraint. Hanks has built a career on playing decent, grounded men navigating extraordinary circumstances, and that quality lines up almost perfectly with the moral seriousness Spielberg often brings to his historical dramas. Whether he's playing a soldier leading a squad through occupied France, a lawyer negotiating a Cold War prisoner exchange, or a newspaper editor fighting for the right to publish, Hanks brings a consistency of character that audiences instinctively trust. On Saving Private Ryan, accounts from the production describe a set where minimal direction was needed for Hanks's performance. He understood the emotional architecture of the film well enough to find his own way into some of its most difficult scenes, including the opening Omaha Beach sequence that remains one of the most harrowing depictions of combat ever filmed. Spielberg has credited Hanks's presence on set with helping to ground the younger actors around him, many of whom were relatively new to major productions. What makes this collaboration distinct from Spielberg's other long-running partnerships is its steadiness. There's no dramatic origin story, no near-miss casting saga, no years of persuasion required. It's simply two artists who trust each other completely, film after film, decade after decade, each one understanding the other's instincts well enough that the process rarely requires much explanation. That consistency has made Hanks something like Spielberg's most reliable creative partner, the actor he turns to when a story needs a human center of gravity, someone audiences will follow into difficult emotional territory, without question. When Spielberg cast a 27-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can in 2002, DiCaprio was still best known to much of the public as the heart